Wamanjika, Kuzasangpo, Kimcho, Salamat Pagyapakaba, Sana Sante Bawana, Talofa. G'day, how are you? Just check my microphone, I'm pretty sure it's working. Yep, no worries. I want to talk to you guys and gals about basically what I want to do is portray a different way of thinking. You might not fully understand, or you might not have even thought of the realisation that these other bipedal humans, whatever you call them, Sasquatch, Sabe, Yowie, Jurundjeri, Bigfoot, Dogman even, mountain giants even, hairy man, grass man, Bigfoot creatures, Yeti, abominable snowman, Almas, Capri, Junjidi, Junjari, Imjim, Taramali, fairies, goblins, pixies, elves, whatever they are. I want to make you aware that a lot of the phenomena which I have experienced, as well as literally tens of thousands of other people have experienced, whether they're First Nations or not, the phenomena which we have experienced is actually similar to phenomena which everyone experiences. And I believe that there are certainly parallels or connotations or things which we haven't really thought of which point us in the direction of whether it be magical powers or the underworld, or a different level, or a different frequency, a different vibration in which people sense these hominoid beings. And here comes a helicopter, and I concur with Steve Isdall with helicopters. Very annoying. Bear with me. Steve, by the way, is a bloke who has a channel on YouTube called The Facts by How to Hunt. Strongly advise you to subscribe to his channel. But anyway, as well as Scott Carpenter on YouTube. But basically what I'm saying is a lot of the phenomena, whether it's stuff like shape-shifting or mind speak or projecting emotions, have similar connotations or parallels which we all experience in our everyday life. And I'm going to point you in a few directions, something to think about. Now we all dream, don't we? We've dreamt in our sleep, and we've all had nightmares. I want you to think about that in the context of the other humans, Bigfoot creatures. We all dream, we all have something pictured in our mind when we're asleep. And if we're lucky enough, when we wake up, we can still remember parts of that dream. It's like a visualization in our mind. Okay, that happens when we're asleep. Why can't that happen while we're awake? Have a visualization while we're awake. And I'm sure a lot of people have experienced this perhaps while they're meditating, or perhaps if they're just resting and daydreaming. Okay, you might be dozing off, you might be half asleep, you might be daydreaming. People speak of how they'll daydream. I mean, with my experiences, I've what I call slipped into the underworld, and I had a visual of underground tunnels. This is when I'm up around the Dandenong Ranges here, near Grant's Picnic Ground. And I had a visual while I'm awake of all these underground tunnels. So why can't we have a visual when we're awake and not just asleep? You understand where I'm coming from? Okay, the human mind and the human spirits, or even spirits and ghosts or whatever, the spiritual realm is vast, and we shouldn't even pretend to fully know what is capable of our minds. As I say before, people who meditate, monks, priests, shamans, people who go into a trance even, they might drink a potion, or they might smoke something, or maybe they won't take any substance, but they'll put themselves into a trance, into the underworld, into the spirit realm, and they'll see or visualise, or in their mind's eye have a visual of the spirit realm. So I'll put to you, why can't that happen while we're awake and not only while we're asleep? Good point, isn't it? Okay? That brings on to, and I've touched on this, premonitions. Now, a premonition is, it's similar to like deja vu. And premonitions and deja vu, I'm pretty sure all of us have experienced. But basically a premonition is something we have probably consciously thought of happening, and then it actually happens. It might be a car crash, it might be someone breaking their arm, it might be a flood, a bushfire, it could be anything. Okay, but I'm sure we all get some sort of premonition, a feeling, a mindset that something's going to happen, something is imminent, and then that may or may not happen. I've had various premonitions. Sometimes they've happened years later, but it's still a premonition, and premonitions stick in our mind. They stand out for some reason. We can't necessarily think back to premonitions we've had, but when it actually happens, you think, shit. One premonition I had quite recently was a family member was in a car accident. Now, this happened maybe 6 months ago, but I actually saw her, there was grass, and I saw her basically driving up around the Dandenong Ranges for some reason, up around the Winding Hills, which is in eastern Victoria of Australia. And I had a premonition of her skidding off the road into a grassed area. But a few hours later, that premonition was in the morning, and about 4 hours later, she was actually in a car crash, and she had actually skidded and hit a car in front. So it wasn't exactly lined up. She wasn't driving up around the Dandenongs and there was a grassed area, but she was still in a car crash. And I actually haven't spoken to my family members about it because, you know, they may not believe me. But we actually should talk about these things. But premonitions can be very strong. And I actually did have a strong urge. Another one I had was years ago. My father, he always played, it's called Tats Lotto. It's like gambling, it's like lotto, or was lotto, or whatever, a lottery draw. You choose 6 numbers and each week numbers are drawn out. I had a distinct feeling or premonition that I should buy a ticket and play the same numbers as what my father used to play because he had passed on. But I had a really, really strong urge that I should play the same numbers, but I didn't. Yes, and lo and behold, that Saturday evening with the Tats Lotto draw, and I don't know, I can't remember the year, but it was Easter Saturday, and the prize draw was like 1.5 million. It was fairly small, 1.8 million. But our numbers came up, the exact 6 numbers which my father had always played the same numbers for years and years and years. But earlier that week, I had a strong urge that I should play these numbers. Perhaps there was a message from him, I don't know. But that's another type of premonition, a very, very strong urge, and then things happen. So it's like a dream, sort of ish. So they're sort of premonitions, and we all have premonitions. And we all have deja vu. What is deja vu? Well, that happens, it's spontaneous. We don't predict, like in a premonition, of what is going to happen, or a feeling of which should happen, or a feeling that something should be done because something's going to happen. That's a premonition, but deja vu, it happens instantly. And we've all had this. So deja vu is, basically it's a mindset, and it only lasts sometimes 1 or 2 seconds. Mine have lasted probably up to a maximum of 10 seconds. And when this happens, I try and sort of hold on to it and go into a mindset and think. And I want to hold on to this deja vu because I think deja vu, it's very, very, very powerful, almost like a sixth sense. So I want to learn about deja vu and premonitions. I should start writing these down. And even my dreams, I should start writing dreams down. But deja vu happens, and it's like you've been in the exact same situation. You might be sitting around a picnic table and you pour a glass of orange juice or drink a beer or whatever, or even a birthday, and then you think, shit, I've been here before. That's deja vu. It's like a doubling up of a period in time, parallel. It's like a parallel time travel, you know. And we, you know, it's similar to like a premonition, but when deja vu happens, we think, oh shit, I've been here before, or I've experienced this moment before, or I've been with this person before, or I've seen that building before. I know this, and sometimes it happens in new areas, places you haven't been before, but you get a distinct feeling, shit, I've been here before. That's like deja vu, yeah? So I want you to understand where I'm coming from with regards to dreams and premonitions and deja vu. Because these sorts of emotions or awareness or cognitive abilities we have in our mind, like usually deja vu happens and premonitions when we're awake. But as I said with dreams, sometimes we have dreams, some people with regards to me and like a mindset when I said slipping into the underworld, why can't dreams be realised in our awakened mind? Okay, so there is a lot of parallels, and I mention this with regards to Sasquatch and Yowie and Junjari and Sabe and Bigfoot phenomena is because, as I said earlier, with regards to projecting emotions or mind speak or even shape-shifting, these three phenomena, projecting emotions, mind speak and shape-shifting, is what sometimes happens when we have an experience with a Bigfoot creature, an underworld creature, another bipedal human. Okay, excuse me for a moment, I'm going to blow my nose. So I want you to firstly realise that dreams and perception and deja vu does happen to everyone. So why can't it happen? Why can't mind speak happen? Why can't projecting emotions happen? It's along the same sort of parallels. Hang on a moment. So to me it's not vastly different to what dreams are, or to what premonitions are, or deja vu, or nightmares. Okay, a lot of people have dreams at night time and then they'll experience or they'll realise it and it might be linked. You might have a dream and that dream is actually a premonition. You might dream of something in a dream, and I've had this before. It's like a premonition, but we dream of it in our sleep. And in our waking life, we'll go to a location or have a picnic or whatever, and that dream has come alive. That's happened to me years and years ago, and one distinct dream that came alive, or premonition, or deja vu, and I'm sure they're all blurred lines. You know, it's not dreams are separate from deja vu, which are completely separate to premonitions. They're all blended in. Okay? It's all a spirit realm, it's all entangled. It's like a ball of wool or cobwebs or whatever, it's all interlinked. Now this dream I had was 30 odd years ago, and I dreamt of it was almost like a abandoned building in a field. It was like a farmland country, and there was just this one building on its own, abandoned. And I had dreamt about this, and one of my brothers, he ended up going to university in one of the country towns in Victoria here, and I was with my parents when we drove to this country town to drop off my elder brother because he was living away from home and studying. And that building I had dreamt about, I saw. We actually drove past it in my parents' car. I hadn't been to that location before. That location was Warrnambool. And this is like 3 decades ago. I dreamt of this exact same, it was almost like deja vu. As I say, deja vu and dreams and premonitions, they all blend in. But I did dream of it. And there was this farmyard, and it only lasted, we drove past it, and I knew straight away, shit, I had seen this building before, and I knew that I had never been in Warrnambool before, ever. Interesting, isn't it? So I want you to be fully, if you can, I hope this little film or doco, whatever you want to call it, video, YouTube, whatever it is, I hope this sort of opens up your mindset into the realm of possibilities of perhaps these Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yowie creatures can mind speak, can project emotions, can shapeshift out of thin air, like in the film Predator. Okay? And even me seeing the bipedal male shape-shifting and seeing the face, or slipping into the underworld, or even having a gut instinct of having to leave the bush. We all have gut instincts. We sense danger. It's just that humans have sort of been dumbed down with society and the way we live now. But we all have a gut instinct, a sixth sense. And I believe that the more you go into the bush, whether it's the deserts or the highland country, the snowfields, the ski fields, the bush, the scrubland, whatever it is, on camping trips or bushwalking or gold prospecting or camping, whatever we're doing, four-wheel driving, when we get away from this manufactured fake society with all our mobile phones and televisions and automobiles, when we get into the natural environment, then we can pick up on our senses more so. Bear with me, getting a bit thirsty. So I just hope with me speaking about dreams or nightmares or premonitions or deja vu, which we all experience. I know you all experience it. Why can't that follow on into the daytime moments? And deja vu, for the most part, I would say 98% happens during the daytime. Deja vu, that is. But as I say, it's all intertwined, intertangled. Okay? Along the same sort of lines is, and I'm sure a lot of you have experienced it, even being lost in the bush. You're going for a bushwalk and you may or may not have been in the location where you are bushwalking, and you end up walking around in circles and you're lost. You think, oh shit, I've been along this path before. That's the same tree I saw, that's the same tree stump I've seen, or mountain range, or boulder, or tap, or whatever, or abandoned shack. And you come to the realisation, oh bloody hell, I've been walking around in circles. What does that tell you? Okay, people get lost all the time, walk around in circles. Or even a loss of time. They'll lose 2 hours, hell, or even a feeling of time going fast. I aren't saying it's like you've walked into a portal, perhaps you have, but people sense a loss of time or even being physically lost quite often. So that's another thing you have to be aware of, being lost. How can you be lost? How can you walk around in circle and see the same tree and realise, God, I've walked around in a circle? were you not conscious of the direction where you were walking? Were you daydreaming? Were you not fully aware of your surroundings? So, think about that as well. That comes into even when I mentioned before meditation or shamans or priests or that when people meditate. What about if you're daydreaming? What if you're just half asleep and you're in the sun? You might be at a beach or in a picnic ground, and you lay down a blanket and you've had a good hearty lunch. You've had a ham and cheese roll or whatever, and you end up snoozing, falling asleep or half asleep. Okay, and then you suddenly become awake and you rub your eyes and you think, oh God, I've fallen asleep. I didn't feel tired before, but I just dozed off. These little things, whether it's dozing off or meditating or daydreams or deja vu, as I say, sometimes they're very, very subtle. It's a very thin line, and even, I'll tell you this, death is a very, very thin line. If you've ever been with someone or next to someone and they've passed away, you'll understand what I'm talking about. The field between life and death is very, very thin. It's like it's as thin as a piece of cotton. Okay, and that brings on to another thing. Ghosts, and I got all these little notes here. Ghosts and spirits. A lot of you might not believe in ghosts or believe in spirits, but perhaps you've sensed something. You've seen a shadow move, or you've been home and you've thought you've locked the front door or back door, or you've thought you've switched the light off and gone to bed, and then you'll wake up during the night and go into the kitchen for a snack and open up the fridge and the light's on. But you could have sworn that the light was turned off by you, or you could have sworn that you've locked the door. You could have sworn that you've locked your car, but your car is open. You could have sworn that you've actually did something, but it actually, perhaps you actually didn't. Okay, did you or didn't you? Did you only think that you turned off a light or locked the door? Or did it unlock itself? Or did the light turn on by a spirit or by the underworld? And a lot of these things, they're quite shocking for a short period of time, and then we just totally dismiss it after 5 seconds. No, I didn't turn off the light. Click, and then you turn it back off again. But for a few moments there you think, I could have sworn I turned off that light. I could have sworn I locked the door. I could have sworn I put or even I could have sworn I filled up the dog's water bowl, and the water bowl is full of water, and then next morning it's completely empty and dried out, and you think, God, the dog must have been thirsty, or God, has it evaporated? Then you think, oh, maybe the dog trod on it and it spilt out, and then you come to all these little theories of evaporation, or the dog spilling it, or the dog drank it all. But did that happen? So I want you to be sort of conscious that things do happen which may not make full sense to us, okay? The world we live in, with the work we do and the way society is, everything is black and white. There's no grey, okay? Did you do the work or didn't you do the work? Did you cook dinner or didn't you cook dinner? Did you fill up with petrol in your scooter or didn't you? Have you done that assignment or haven't you? Did I type that letter or didn't I type that letter? It's all very black and white, yes, no. There's no in between. There's no regard for the spirit realm. There's no regard for what if, perhaps, or maybe, okay? We have to be aware of that. Not everything is black and white. There's a lot of grey in between. And that's why I started off with dreams or premonitions or deja vu, which everyone has, which everyone, oh I'd say 99% of us have. There's a lot of greyness in our dreams. There's a lot of greyness with deja vu. There's a lot of greyness with waking up half asleep. There's a lot of greyness with even sleepwalking. How many people sleepwalk? Why do they sleepwalk? How can that be possible? The person is asleep, but people do sleepwalk. How is that possible? Okay, it's sort of half awake and half asleep, isn't it? That's the grey area, and that's what I'm talking about. Okay? So think about sleepwalking. Think about deja vu. And think about perceptions. Now, I'll probably end it on these 3 or 4 headings. Now, the headings are imitating, illusion, delusion, and camouflage. I'll say that again. Imitating, illusion, delusion, and camouflage. For example, imitating. We all know that with certain birds, they imitate other animals. Same with the Yowie and Sasquatch and other humanoid beings, Bigfoot creatures. They also imitate. People hear voices, people hear screams, people hear a woman screaming like she's being stabbed to death. People hear children laughing. People hear children playing or children giggling. Okay? These creatures do imitate, but so do other animals, and I believe that a human is an animal, but so do especially other birds. Okay? Now, a famous bird in Australia is the lyrebird. The lyrebird is a big imitator of all sorts of wildlife, all sorts of animals. They've been heard to imitate a shutter on a camera. They've been heard to imitate a chainsaw. What about a cockatoo, a cockie, talking? Hello, cockie. Eh? How is that possible? How can a cockatoo speak your language? That's another grey area, okay? It might be, oh yeah, well their voice box is designed in such a way and they just imitate a human, and a human can teach it to say, probably want a cracker or whatever. or teach it swear words or whatever. But I hope you understand where I'm coming from. Not only do animals we know and we recognise in society, like a cocky or a cockatoo or a lyrebird, which imitates not only other animals but human voices, or human crying, or human screaming, or human laughing, or human speaking, but so do these other Yowie, Sasquatch, bipedal humans, Bigfoot creatures. It's part of the phenomena. Okay? What I want you to do is open up your mind to the possibilities, and I said this before, open up your mind of possibilities of what these Yowie, Bigfoot, Sasquatch creatures can do. They're not just a basic ancient human like a Neanderthal man or Homo habilis or a Australopithecus blackie. They aren't a bear, they aren't an old chimpanzee or whatever. It's been proven that they are a human hybrid. They are a human. And they do imitate human voices, screams, cries, yells, laughter, etc. Just like cockatoos, just like lyrebirds. Okay, I'm trying to break you into this field of awareness of these other humans, these Bigfoot creatures. It's not just a person seeing this 10-foot tall, hairy male creature. There's so much more to them. As I said before, they shapeshift, they mind speak, they project emotions. So I want you to immerse yourself into this grey matter, this landscape of dreams and premonitions and deja vu and nightmares and perception. So imitating is one. Illusion is another. Now, illusion, it could be sight, or it could be sound, or it could be other sensory factors, but illusion as well. Okay, you might. It's like seeing a wet road on a hot day. You see the vapours come off the road, and it's like a squiggly line. It's like a illusion. You might see a shadow. You might hear something. Okay, it's an illusion. It's something that isn't. It's like a spectrum of between a solid subject matter like a road and water, and then something happens. It's grey matter, like the steam coming off the road, and it gives the illusion of water or the illusion of waves. Or is it sync waves, or you know what I'm saying? Also that delusion. Now delusion could be sight or sound or any other factor as well. So we have sight, hearing, smell, touch, taste, and our sixth sense. So think about delusion as well. What was I delusional? Was I seeing something? When I was half asleep or waking up, did I really see that? And I'll refer back to when I saw the bipedal Yowie shapeshifting. Was it real? Was it not? As I say before, these creatures shapeshift. You have to be aware of the grey matter. Okay? Not everything is yes and no. Not everything is black and white. There's a whole spectrum. It's like the infrared spectrum or the sound spectrum. Okay? Gravity spectrum, different layers of gravity or time travel, parallel universes, deja vu. How can I dream of something and seeing something 10, 20 years later and I haven't been there before? How do I, when I experience deja vu, how do we know it's deja vu? It's so distinct. Okay? And the other one is camouflage. So imitating, illusion, delusion, and camouflage. Now camouflage is mainly through our sight, but with imitating is normally hearing. It could be physical as well. Okay? A lot of First Nations people say that they've seen a humanoid being come out of a rock or come out of a tree, like a Djundjeri. Djundjeri, it's been spoken about through Australian Aboriginal folklore for millennia. Djundjeri that sleep in logs, they're about 4 foot high as a fully grown bipedal hominoid being, hairy or mostly hairy, or Djundjari, depending on which dialect. It could be an 8 foot tall yowie shaping from a tree. How is that possible? How is it possible that I saw a shape-shifting bipedal male walk towards me 400 metres away here in Warrandyte last year, and I had a distinct image in my mind of this bipedal male walking towards me with a walking stick in its left arm and a long flaccid penis. And I thought that there was cobwebs over its shoulders wearing a shawl, but that turned out to be hair or a beard. Okay? So I think about camouflage as well. Hundreds of animals camouflage or disguise themselves. Whether it's a beetle, a butterfly, a zebra, a panther, whatever. Most animals are camouflaged. So why not these other humans? And that's when they get into shape-shifting. Okay? So I know this video has gone on for a long time, but I just want you to be aware, and even I'll just touch on our interpretation. There might be two people walking along the same path and one person sees something and so does the other person, but it's two different. They might see the same thing, but one person might see a tree and the other one sees a yowie creature in that tree or emerging from that tree. It's our interpretation. Is it shape-shifting? Is it camouflage? Is it imitating in some way? Okay, so but I just want to touch on orbs and portals, probably portals more, and time travel. There's literally thousands, tens of thousands of people worldwide that get lost every single year. Okay, a lot of that could be, and this again is grey matter, could be due to the subject of these cryptid creatures, these hybrid humans, or even UFOs or aliens, or portals, time travel, parallel universes. Okay, so with all this phenomena, I want you to just realise that every single one of us does experience this sort of grey matter, starting off with dreams and nightmares and premonitions and deja vu. Everyone experiences them, okay? And then there's people who believe in spirits or ghosts. They're aware, they're open to it. I want you to be aware of the realm of possibilities. It's a way of understanding these Bigfoot Sasquatch creatures. You have to be aware of the grey matter, the underworld, the spirit realm. Okay? What could be? Did I see that? Was that correct? How did I interpret that? Was it illusion? Was it delusion? Was that something imitating something? Was that is that a camouflaged animal? So just be aware, okay? I think it's a very good starting point for anyone who is interested or curious of Bigfoot Sasquatch. It's not just black and white. It's not just walking along a path, turning a corner and seeing a 10-foot high human, bipedal human with a human looking face. It's very subtle sometimes. There's a lot of grey area. Sights and smells, you know, even things like branches breaking and being paralleled, hearing bipedal footsteps not next to you, rocks being thrown, smelling a smell, seeing something shape-shifting. It's all into that realm of possibilities, whether it's physical or spiritual, or it's our interpretation through our senses, sight, smell, hearing, taste and touch, but also through our mindset and how we think. Are we open to that? Are we open to the fact of the realisation that spirits might exist? As I said before, when people swear that they've turned off a light switch and then they'll go back a couple of hours later and the light's switched on, they'll think for a couple of seconds, but they just think, oh no, I simply didn't turn it off. You have to dive deep and just be open to the possibilities, open to the plethora, the spectrum of what could be, whether it's the underworld or the spirit realm or shape-shifting or portals or time travel, deja vu, shape-shifting, mind-speaking, projecting emotions, dreams, okay? Be open to it. Don't be scared of it. If you feel scared, well then step back again. And then just, it's small steps, it's a learning curve, okay? So I just wanted to speak to you about this. I know it's a very, very long video and I do tend to ramble on, but with my rambling on, it's open and honest. It's not scripted. They're my notes, all scribbles, okay? So I want you to firstly be aware that all of us dream, all of us have nightmares, all of us have deja vu, all of us have premonitions, all of us sometimes get lost in the bush, all of us think we've turned on a light or turned off a light. So why not go deeper? Why not be open to this shape-shifting phenomena? Why not be open to a phenomena of smelling? When you come across a pungent smell, whether it's a wet dog smell or a rotting flesh smell or a sulphur smell or a burning bakelite smell, why not be open to the perception through our nose that perhaps that is a yowie, perhaps that is a Sasquatch, because they do emit that odour. Okay? Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. I hope I've made a lot of sense for you, but I wanted you to be aware that everyone has that grey way of thinking anyway. You just have to open up that door and be more aware of what the possibilities are. We all dream, we all have nightmares, we all have premonitions, we all have deja vu. Why not step in and explore? Be open to it. Okay? All right. Gonna leave it at that. You be good, you be safe, and do your bloody homework. Don't just rely on one YouTube channel or one person's story. Look into it, research it, newspaper articles, speak to First Nations people, speak to people like me. Watch various YouTube channels, watch various films like Missing 411. Okay? Be open to it. Look into fairy tales and the underlying meaning of fairy tales. Hansel and Gretel, and them coming across a witch, okay? And a witch holding this, witches are seen with, you know, the round balls, a crystal ball. I believe that personally a crystal ball could well be an orb. I believe that most witches in fairy tales are actually a Sasquatch Yowie creature holding onto an orb. It's not a witch per se with a crooked nose, the Hollywood type, with a crystal ball. It's ancient history, but those stories have been passed on through children's fairy tales. So I believe that witches are actually other ancient humans like Yowies and Sasquatch and Bigfoot. Okay, so look into it. You might come up with your own theory. Okay, but anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. Be open-minded, look into the grey matter and looking around and thinking about deja vu and dreams and illusion and delusion and the sixth sense, the gut instinct, hearing something, smelling something, seeing something, rubbing your eyes. Is that right? Did I imagine that? Did I dream that? All right, I'm going to leave it at that. And yeah, be good. See ya.